Good morning. It's almost afternoon. Forgot what time it was. Monday morning class in Admin 3313 and the online class as well. To the morning class people that meets on Monday at 8 o'clock, I apologize again for an unexpected back spasm circumstance that took me out of commission most of that morning. It's much better that afternoon. Taught my 3 o'clock class and we're back in the swing of things. But I do need to cover some things to catch you up to speed on where things are going in the class as we move to the second function of administration, and that is organizing. Of the four, we covered planning last week, and then Monday I was going to cover organizing, that second component or second function of administration in the church, and so I will do that briefly in a little video overview today, and load the PowerPoint slides up for you so you can study through those and get the basic gist of what we're going to cover. Being the second element, you've got a bunch of parts or a bunch of resources, the main one being people, human resources. Of course, we've got dollars, budgets, we've got facilities, we've got programs and ministries. But if it's disorganized, there's no way we can reach our goals. There's no way we can achieve our mission as a church. So organizing, by definition, is the work of grouping people and the work together so that the work can get done. And it's also tying together activities under someone who is in charge. So there's going to be a leader in the organizing process. And those people are in charge, not just one person, but they're going to delegate, as Moses did at the advice of his father-in-law Jethro in Exodus 18, so that people are going to be in charge of specific ministry goals toward the organizational process. It's the process of arranging, putting things together, raw materials, if you will, the valuable resources we have to accomplish ministry. But they've got to have a structure. They've got to have the skeletal system, a backbone, if you will, in order for them to be engaged in achievement of goals. Give some props here. A couple of things. It's taking raw materials, Legos, one of my favorite graduate school props here. It can be just a bunch of raw materials, and if we do this, it doesn't come out any better. There's got to be a plan. There's got to be a structure for this pile or handful of Legos to come out making sense, having purpose, having structure that can actually do things for us. Essential to organizing, then, is establishing that essential structure that guides us toward goal accomplishment. In order to do that, it's going to involve the main resource, which is people. And these people are helpless to be part of the organization unless we delegate responsibilities to them and then empower them to do the work that we've asked them to do. So delegation and empowerment are vitally important. We'll talk more about those terms in great depth later in the semester. Bill Hybels once did a study there at Willow Creek, and he asked his people who are in church leadership positions, what were the top things that convinced you to become involved in ministry here. And the first thing was that someone recognized my potential. The second rated thing was that someone invested themselves in me. And the third thing was someone gave me a specific responsibility and then trusted me with that. And all of those are kind of bring together what we're trying to do in organizing our people for the work of ministry. And it's going to hinge on relationships, good relationships, positive working relationships, caring Christian relationships with our volunteers and with our paid people that assist us in ministry. The structure that we're talking about is an establishment of patterns, if you will. There's formal rules, there's informal rules, there's policies, there's work procedures, there's things that need to be done in order. There are certain arrangements that are formal as well as informal. And then finally, a well-developed organizational chart that I know you're all very familiar with, where you have the structure, where you have, you know, the CEO or in an organization, or the pastor in a church, and then the next block down, you've got middle management or executive people or cabinet staff in a church. And then it goes all the way down. The camera won't catch it here, but it goes, you know, all the way down to I don't want to say the most menial position. I certainly want to call it the lowest of the low, but there are people that help us in ministry each and every week, each and every Sunday, that are kind of, they're not by any stretch of the imagination insignificant, but they're almost behind the scenes. They do things for us that need to be done, but it's imperative that those tasks get done if we're going to accomplish what we're supposed to be accomplishing. And the organizational chart covers all of that. In a large church, it can be very complex with many positions. In a small church, there's still got to be a structure. There's still got to be organization there, because without it, there's no way we can, in an orderly fashion, get things together, all of our resources together to move toward what we're trying to be as a church or a Christian organization. That's the picture of the formal structure of what it looks like. There's an informal structure, though, that may not be able to draw it like that, and so, but it's not planned for, but it's always present. It may be where the real movers and shakers as far as people are within the informal structure, and it's spontaneous. It's kind of as needed. This informal organizational structure comes together. And it's usually developed along social lines or skill lines or people that do the same things, like the money counters, you know, the 6 or 7 guys that get in and count the offering in a large church and things like that, or even, you know, parking lot attendants, you know, in a large church parking lot, something like that. Service lines, ministry lines, develops like that. But we've got to be able to recognize that informal structure. And it's very prevalent in volunteer organizations, which is going to be us, you know, you and I, as we minister in the church. Let's see. Authority is something that we're going to give people, and it's not Gestapo authority, it's not dictatorial authority, but it's what they need to do the responsibilities that they've been charged with. And it's exercised within an organization, and it's the right to take action. That's how we're going to define it. Authority is the right to take action or initiate action, you know, toward task accomplishment. And perception with authority is very important. People can take, you know, be given authority and they have the wrong perception of it. Well, now I'm a boss. Well, no, you're not really over. You know, now you have the right as a parking lot person in the car, you know, to stop traffic, you know, coming over here, and then to allow traffic to move on, you know, while they're waiting, so on and so forth. But it doesn't allow you don't have the authority if someone doesn't do that you pull them over and arrest them, you know, to give them a citation or anything like that. So perception is very important where authority is concerned. Authority can be had by position. The pastor has authority because of his position as pastor. Authority is given by reputation, and that is a very strong lay leader in the church might exert certain authority. A great business mind person that sits on a budget committee or something like that. Experience is also one way that authority is recognized. It's just, you know, the miles a person has trod, you know, within their discipline. The experienced water that has flown under their life's bridge builds that type of authority. And then expertise. People they know that. We want CPAs. on our budget committee and stuff like that, because they know how to balance things. They operate in checks and balances, financial checks and balances all day long. So positioned by reputation, by experience, and by expertise are how we find authority in our people. It's authority as the ministers. It's our tool as ministers. It's what gives us what we need to provide direction and guidance throughout the structure. Sometimes in a large church, this massive organizational structure that's out there. On a small church, it may be a simple structure, but authority, what God gives us. Authority, one of the things authority is, it is given. Okay, it is given by God, it is given by the people, but it must be received. We can be a leader of the church, but we hadn't really received the authority. We don't feel like we're qualified or whatever. We need to receive that and act upon it in order to guide people, through this particular structure. Back to the organizational chart quickly, and then I'll be done. A chart depicts, if you will, in pictorial form, what's called chain of command. Who's responsible to who works for who. Also horizontally, vertically. Horizontally, it also, who do I work with? Who does the same thing that I do, that I've been charged to do on the church on Sunday or whenever. It projects lines of authority. It's like a pyramid with a broad base, and narrow at the top, where the head office is, and those lines are there. Unity of structure, and especially and most importantly, probably more than anything else, depicts lines of communication. Now, a church can be business-like, but it doesn't operate that way all the time. Where you've got to go through certain channels. If you want to talk to somebody, we're believers. Everybody's brothers and sisters in Christ, and so that particular part of the hierarchy doesn't really need to be there. As ministers, our doors need to always be open to our people. If someone has a question to ask a worship leader, they don't have to come through an executive pastor's office to do that. Go ask the worship leader. We're all sinners saved by grace, and all striving to become more and more to look like Jesus. Jesus chose 12 disciples as an example of span of control. I'm going to relinquish my control down to others so it will have a greater span. I mentioned Jethro and Moses earlier. That's an example of span of control. And it just is, people manage a certain number of people under them according to the task that's at hand, according to the capabilities of the people, that are under them. And then our ability as the administrator to get things done. And span of control can't be absent in a church as an organization, or we are neglecting, not just neglecting, but we're putting aside, we're moving it out of our thought process, the theology found in Ephesians 4, where we're equipping the saints for the work of ministry. Delegation is very important in this process. We've got to give our ministries away, empower the people. Remember, having been given responsibility and trusted that responsibility was the number 3 reason the volunteer leadership base at Willow Creek felt like they were called to do what they were to do. Delegation is not assigning people responsibility for something or assigning someone a task where responsibility already exists. As required when there's a sphere of responsibility on the administrator is too great to face alone. Let me say that again and hear it. Delegation must be assigned when the sphere of responsibility is too great for the church leader or administrator to face alone. That's everything. That's why we've got to have help in the church. And again, delegation itself, the word by definition, it is fulfilled in Ephesians 4:11 and 12. Finally, I mentioned establishing relationships in organization. It's developing people and equipping people so that they can do things effectively and efficiently. Those are two hand-in-glove managerial words, effectively and efficiently, or effectiveness and efficiency. You might think of effectiveness as doing the right thing, and efficiency, doing things right. Let me say that again. Effectiveness is doing the right thing. Efficiency is doing things right. And they're both important. If we can balance that, the more the better, that type of circumstance. But when it comes down to it, Jesus always did the right thing. He really did, and that's what made him effective. We can get wrapped up in efficiency, and we can fail to do the right thing. And so, but balance is paramount if we can get there. But if when in doubt, do the right thing rather than do things right. I hope I've made that clear. Establishing relationships in ministry, you all know this. It's shepherding. It really is. You've got someone that is in a supervisory capacity and someone else in a subordinate capacity, and so there's going to be a shepherding relationship there, or at least an iron sharpens iron, a peer-to-peer relationship, on a horizontal plane, where relationships are built, mutually. It's not really about the product. It is, but understand it's the process that gets us to the product that really draws us together in unity in the congregation. So when things are accomplished in an organized manner through a specific organizational structure, everybody shares in the hallelujah moment, when goals and things are achieved. That is just a quick synopsis of what I would have covered, over a greatly longer period of time. Hope you're doing well. Always, if you've got any questions, give me a buzz, shoot me an email, whatever you need to do. I will post the PowerPoint slides that I would have used in class for you. A reminder of learning assignment number 1. I will distribute that to you early next week. In other words, I'll bump it a week as further down the road as far as the syllabus dates are concerned. So I'll post that for you online folks first thing next week. Monday classroom folks, I will hand that out to you in class and go over it. Okay? Hope you're doing well. Be sure and contact me anytime. So do you have any questions of me? Have a great week.